Let's bring in ESPN Texans beat writer DJ Bien-aime. DJ, thanks so much for the time, my friend. We appreciate it.
Thanks, DJ.
Hey, thanks for having me on. You got the name right. A lot of people mispronounce it, so shout out to you for getting it right.
Oh, we appreciate it. I pride myself on getting names right.
There you go.
Because I have a last name that people have been pronouncing wrong for 20 years of my life, 25 years of my life. It's the Italian in me, absolutely. But DJ, this is a big game. I think for many of us here in Detroit, when the schedule came out, it felt like, and I think all three of us in our season predictions had a loss at Houston on Sunday night. This Texans team that will be on the field is not the one we expected in the beginning of the season with Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs out. It appears that Nico Collins is out anyway. What has this team been doing right for the past year and a half with C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans?
I would say, just building the right team around him, offense and defense. I know the numbers might not look great in terms of pass blocking, but last year they were a pretty good pass blocking unit in terms of giving CJ the time to throw while keeping him clean. I would say, getting him playmakers. Tank Dell last year as a rookie, even, last week against the Jets, he had over 100 yards. Obviously, the emergence of Nico Collins. And then on the defensive side, they're really big on premium, drafting in premium spots and investing in premium spots because they've really invested at DN. They got two top-flight DN type of guys. They got two pretty good corners. And that's, obviously they built from the front back. So they've built a good team around CJ to where he doesn't have to always be Superman for them to win games. And this year, their manager Joe Mixon has just allowed them to, when they go through their occasional times where their pass offense isn't clicking, they can rely on Joe to be able to carry the offense while they're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, DJ, brother, what's here, man? Appreciate you coming on the show. You talked about Joe Mixon and the addition of him. Take me on the defensive side of the ball and the addition of Danielle Hunter. How has it allowed Will Anderson Jr. kind of to spread his wings? Now you have two formidable pass rushers on each side. It has to be helping him.
Absolutely, yeah. No, Will's been at Danielle's hip the entire offseason. I remember one time, the entire season, I remember back in the offseason, Will mentioned how they should do this one thing before practice where it would kind of be like hand fighting. Okay. And he learned, just so Will could learn how to use his hands better at the top of his rush or when he's engaging in a rush. And he was mentioning how, like, Danielle's hands felt like bricks, how, like, every time he grabbed his wrist, he thought he would break his wrist. So that's been very helpful. Obviously, Danielle, according to Next Gen Stats, leads the NFL and NFL pressures on quarterbacks. So that's allowed Will to not have – you can't, like, solely focus on him, Like, you have to give attention to him and Danielle. So he's been able to, make plays off of that. Obviously, he had 7.5 sacks going into the game against the Jets. But obviously, he hurt his ankle. It doesn't look like he's going to play this week. But just having, Will, that allows DeMeco to allow his scheme to be the best version of himself because, as smart as DeMeco is, his scheme is very, very player-based where he needs dudes for it to be effective. And that's just kind of how the scheme is built around because he wants the guys to play fast. And if you got talented guys playing fast, you can have a very dynamic defense.
Played against DeMeco my rookie year. I want to say it was around game 9 or 10, and I caught a slant round. He came right up under my chin. I was like, yeah, I ain't messing with that Alabama kid again. Take me on the offensive side of the ball, if you will, DJ. Let's talk about C.J. Stroud. This is year 2, coming off a remarkable rookie campaign. But because of injury, he hasn't necessarily looked himself, injuries to his wide receivers, he hasn't been able to look himself. Yep. But where have you seen his growth or his change in the right direction in year 2 as a quarterback?
I would say, it's very clear he's way more equipped at handling chaos around him. Yes, the past couple of weeks, it hasn't been as ideal, and that's okay, right? Yeah. He's only in year 2, 23
and he's
years old.
missing Stephon Diggs as well as Nico Collins. Yeah.
Nico Collins, yeah, exactly. But there's been so many times this year when he had at least one of those guys where when there's a lot of chaos around, he's still able to maneuver and step up into the pocket and make throws from different arm angles to keep drives alive. Obviously, he's pretty good on third downs, even though he faces the most third and 7 and longers across the entire NFL. So I would say last year, third downs, where he wasn't as good. This year, he's been pretty good on third downs. They just have to do a better job of keeping him out of third and longs. But I would say that's the place where he's gotten better, which is being able to live in chaos, like, operate within chaos. Oh, and extending it. Now he got some wiggle to him now. Like, he got some legitimate wiggle to him. So he's able to, keep plays alive and make, explosive things happen when there aren't much there.
DJ, it's Maz. Thanks again for joining us today. I know you just got done with practice. How important has Joe Mixon been to this team? I mean, what an upgrade. He's like reborn from leaving Cincinnati to come to Houston.
Man, I think Joe Mixon, he was probably the most underrated addition in the offseason for the Texans. When the Texans made all their moves, people were talking about, adding Nico, well, not Nico, but adding Diggs and bringing back Schultz and getting Daniil and getting Danico and Aziz. And Joe Mixon kind of flew under the radar a little bit, but he's been their best addition, in my opinion, across the board, easily, because there's been times, again, where the offense has struggled. Like the Green Bay Packer game was close, even with Seager throwing for under 100 yards, because you had Joe Mixon carrying the offense. And same against the Jets, right? Like, their best drives were where Joe Mixon was being very, very effective. So I think that having Joe Mixon allows them to, one, lean into their identity under Bobby Slowick, because Bobby Slowick wants to be a run-first offense, and play off of that. And at least having Joe Mixon, that allows them to lean into the identity.
Listen, the Lions come in as one of the best teams in the league. Would you consider this game the toughest game that Houston has had to face so far?
Toughest game. I would say so. Mainly because this is the first team I think they're playing that's complete across the board, where there isn't that many flaws. So I would say, easily, for sure. But because it's funny, like their schedule hasn't really been that difficult. I think the toughest game they played is like the Bills and the Packers.
Yep.
Yeah, it's those two. So this is for sure the team where it's like they have very, 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 very little holes, and they're healthy. That's another thing. They're healthy, but the Texans aren't healthy.
Listen, man, I don't know if you were around a few Thanksgivings ago when the Houston Texans
I was not, but I know what you're talking
came
about.
into Ford Field, and they just laid out the Lions. And there was a picture of Mrs. Ford, Sheila Hamp, in the press box, in her owner's box, and she had her hands covering her face. And after that day, it all changed. She fired her head coach and then her general manager, and they bring in Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, and the Lions are here 4 years later. Look where they've come from, the pits of hell to almost reaching heaven last year. It all started against the Texans. Right.
Yeah, no, I wasn't on the beat yet, but I remember watching that game at my friend's house for Thanksgiving. I was at my friend's house in Atlanta. I remember watching that game, just being like so surprised how that game was so lopsided. Because the Texans weren't that good in that 2020 season anyway.
I know.
Hey, DJ, KG in the sound booth. Pleasure to talk to you. And I love the talent of C.J. Stroud, but we got to talk about that offensive line, man. I don't know what's been going on with them. It's a big part of their inconsistency so far this year. And last week he was sacked 8 times. Can you just speak to the depth of that offensive line and everything they've gone through so far this season?
Yeah, I would say one of their biggest issues is they can't handle stunts and twists up front. If you overload, I already know that the Lions are going to try this on Sunday. They're going to overload one side and then run a stunt where they're going to probably have one of the I guess most inside defensive tackle try to pick off the center, and then have the DM so the overload side just loop around and go right up the A gap. That's what they've been doing the entire year. That's what teams been doing, or other little stunts where they just play with the center or the left guard, play games there. That's what's been their biggest issue, because they can run block pretty effectively, right? Joe Mixon averaging over 100 rushing yards per game, right? You can't do that by himself if the O-line isn't doing their job.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's just really their interior play has disintegrated compared to last year, because the tackles are pretty good. Larry Tunsil is one of the best left tackles in the league. Titus is one of the more underrated right tackles in the league. So those tackle spot is fine. It's just the interior that's been such an issue throughout the entire season. But I would say against the Jets, it wasn't just the O-line. I would say there was a lot of times where there was indecisiveness from Stroud, which led to him holding the ball, because he held the ball for 3.6 seconds, which in the NFL that's an eternity, and you're going to get hit and you're going to get sacked. There's some times where guys are getting beat, other times where guys aren't getting open, right? So the Jets game was a combination of all 11 that weren't executing. So I think that it should be better this week, but I don't think it'll be better enough for them to get the win.
Hey, DJ, Spencer here in the other booth. Appreciate you joining us.
A lot of booths.
The Detroit Lions have a lot of weapons you can throw at a defense, and they're getting a big one back in this game with Jameson Williams. I saw, the Houston Texans defensive backfield, Jeff Okudah on IR, Jimmy Ward a little banged up. The Lions are probably going to make a point to make Jameson Williams a factor in this game. How do you think the Texans are going to handle his speed out there?
They probably. That's tough. 'Cause the issue is for me is there's been a lot of plays this year where their safeties have got caught flat-footed. So I could for sure see a scenario where they try to play action and get J-Mo master one of the safeties on a deep post and just try to run to the heavens. And I think that I think there's gonna be a few shots because again, like, on film, it's been very clear that that's where the big voids are. Teams have tried to attack that. They've just missed on a few of those, which is, it is what it is there. But I wouldn't be surprised to see J-Mo being used on a play-action pass deep down the seam, deep down the deep post, trying to get behind the safety. So, again, Anthony Richardson's best game this year came against the Texans when he hit on, like, 3 passes that were putting the safeties in conflict, whether it was like a deep post, whether it's like, a clear out route with a deep dig behind it. Like, it's, that's what teams want to attack. And I'm not going to be shocked to see Ben Johnson attack that area of the field for against the Texans.
Talking to DJ Bien-aime, ESPN Texans beat reporter. One of the things we talk about here a lot is culture with Dan Campbell. Once Dan Campbell came in, everything changed. Brad Holmes, the general manager, everything changed. You get your quarterback right, everything changed. Feel like Houston kind of mirrors that kind of success that the Detroit Lions had with the head coach DeMeco Ryans, with the quarterback C.J. Stroud. It just feels like DeMeco Ryans has completely changed the culture there in Houston. Can you just talk about what he has been doing so right? And it's so unusual, maybe not so unusual, but it feels unusual that you have a defensive head coach and a first-round selection, second pick overall, in a quarterback, and that relationship works. It's usually, an offensive coach with an offensive with an offensive court, but this defensive coach with this number 2 overall pick, what is their relationship and why is it working so well?
I would say, there's a mutual level of respect. I think also that, CJ, I don't want to say he can handle tough coaching. I don't necessarily think DeMeco coaches toughly. Like, obviously he has a tough team, but he coaches with a lot of positivity, and that's his biggest thing. Like, obviously he'll call guys out, he'll challenge guys, but he's big on positivity and energy because he feels like if you're just dog cussing guys out, you're not going to get the best out of them. And obviously there's been guys that haven't really developed on him, but there's been plenty of guys that have. Like, you got CJ, obviously, right? You got some of the linebackers like Henry To'oTo'o. He's been way better in year 2 than he was in year 1. Christian Harris at the end of the season, last year was able to catch a pick 6 against the Browns. Like, Will Anderson developed under him. Tank, Nico, and a lot of guys, they speak a lot to his positivity, his positive energy, while making sure when he coaches guys, he tries to help them improve a little, just by a little bit, instead of like, I'm going to give you like these 10 things to improve on and hope that you get better. He's more like, let's focus on the things that I know you can fix right now, and then once you fix those things, move on to the other things. So he's very strategic in his development plan, and is very he's big on positivity. I feel that's how you get the best out of your players.
Fantastic stuff, DJ. We really appreciate it. Know you're busy today, and we appreciate your time here in Detroit. Thanks so much, my friend.
No problem. Hope to see you guys on Sunday.
Take care,
got it.
DJ.
Hey, maybe we'll see you in the Super Bowl. How about that?
Yeah.
Not with this team.